I knew what they had gone through. We didn't even have to talk about specifics, although we did. But it was just lovely to know that like we were throwing yarn back and forth and creating a spider web between each other, with our commonalities and in our situations. And that felt good to say out loud, like, yeah, this happened to me and I can't even talk to anybody else about it. Um, and then doing the art is I have a bachelor's degree in fine art. So doing the art
Right.
projects were just so healing for me.
Hi, I'm Tara Woodley, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Through the Eyes of Survivors, where we have conversations that spark interaction amongst the community about what domestic violence is like and how you can thrive afterwards. And today, our podcast is kind of special. We're talking with people who have attended our Sister Survivor retreat. We have one coming up in April. So we kind of want to give everybody a peek, like a little peek into the window of what the retreats are like and what kind of happens there and what kind of support you get and what it's like even after you leave the retreat. So my special guests are Stephanie Smith. Now, Stephanie attended last year's spring retreat. And Stephanie is also a volunteer here with us. She's one of our blog writers. So go to our website and read some of her blogs. She does some really great work. So thank you, Stephanie, for being here. And Heather Haskins, she attended a retreat several years ago, and she's been volunteering with the organization on and off for a long time now. So Heather is now part of our Legacy Family group, and she also helped cook at our last family retreat for the Legacy families. So I welcome you both. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having
So,
us.
absolutely. So, what I wanted to do was just kind of give everybody kind of just a brief overview of what really our retreat is. So, and hear from y'all's perspective. So, we decided years ago that in order to help bring some healing after you have fled abuse, after you have kind of gotten out of crisis, what we could do to help support survivors. So, that's when the sister retreat started happening. So, we created a community where you could come in and we not only discuss the things that happen to us and kind of find out we're all in the same kind of similar boat, that there is someone out there who has experienced what you experienced and also is going through the struggles um, of what it's like after you're out. And so when you're trying to find healing and reconnection, so the survivor retreat does all kinds of things. We talk about your mental health. We do different workshops that are creatively based around domestic violence. There's art workshops. We usually try to do our workshops where we're in the mountains or at the beach, or you can experience some kind of relaxation. I know this next one is on some beautiful acreage with a very beautiful pool, and the side is just gorgeous. And we try to create an atmosphere where for that moment in time, you're sheltered from the outside world. So the retreats I feel are very healing. Plus, you do a lot of great work. And I know I've been a part of the retreats facilitating it now for years. I mean, even when I was just a volunteer before I, rose up to be the president and CEO, the retreats were just something I participated every year in helping women to grow. So I know, Stephanie, you just came from the latest retreat, the last one we had. So can you tell me kind of like what was your expectations like? What were your thoughts before you went? What did you think you were going to experience?
Well, I think first of all, it's very interesting that I had heard about the retreat, but I didn't plan on going. A friend here who had planned to go, she had talked about it, and it was actually a lot of serendipity how I signed up and how I got to be accepted to go. And that being said, I think there was not a whole lot of expectation that I really could think of, because it was really quick when I signed up, and I think it was maybe a month, maybe even a month and a half, from signing up. Um, but I guess speaking with my friend who also is a survivor, um, just in the focus of meeting with a group of sisters, um, being in a supportive environment, I think was the biggest draw for me, because I had only just left my abuser a year prior. And so I think my own focus, if we can say, right, healing is not instant, it is a huge, long, can be a long process.
Mhm.
This popped up, like I said, as an option, but I didn't sign up, and then presented as oh, you can go, there's still space. The serendipity, I would say, was most appropriate. I think it was um, a booster for me to actually focus on my mental health. It was, again, the I guess I can't stop saying it. The serendipity of being accepted to go, um, was just part of, I think, what I needed for the healing. So my expectation was really just around, um, again, sisters who have experienced the same thing, a supportive staff, um, and knowing that this was kind of, a gateway. I had left, like I said, a year prior, but the retreat felt like, um, maybe I could say that I wasn't super focused on my healing, meaning leaving my abuser, being safe, being in a supportive environment. Those are all great things. And they were also serendipitously put together. Um, and so having the retreat come up, I think again, it was just a real piece of, oh, this is a gateway, this is a puzzle piece, this is something that I need. And that was really the focus for me.
Awesome. Well, we were so glad to have you. And Heather, you now correct me what year, because I'm going back in my memory. Was it the 2018 retreat that you had?
2019.
2019. I was close.
Yeah.
So the 2019 retreat. And so you were actually part of a bigger class when we used to do the bigger classes. I know now we found it more convenient to make it smaller classes so we can do more one-on-one. But what was your expectation coming in, Heather, as you were coming to the retreat?
So I came from a very different place. I was out of my abusive situation at that point for about 3 or 4 years. Actually, more like 5. My daughter was 3 at the time that I went to the retreat. And my husband thought for the longest time that I was going through postpartum depression, and that those were the symptoms that I was showing. He found me counseling um, locally to, try to help me. He found other women that were going through it that we were in the friends group with. And when I started talking to everybody, they're like, not postpartum. It is, in fact, what you've been through. And it turns out, had been in my entire life. And I didn't know it. I had no idea that that's what was happening to me. So, right around the time I started doing research into what I was feeling, and how to try to heal myself, this retreat showed up in my For You page. And I bounced on it. I was so excited. I started fundraising right away. I couldn't wait to get there. Um, I was looking for that like common string that we all had, and how do we move forward, and can we move forward together? Um, and so I was looking forward to I was nervous, but I was very much looking forward to going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That first time nervousness, I know that my first time, my expectation was it would just be wonderful to be able to speak my mind about all these things I have in my head of what I endured and what I went through, and people not look at me like I'm crazy inside. And or they look at you like the kind of they're trying to empathize, but they really
Mhm.
don't understand. And friends are so lovely and can be such a joy and help you, and then other time um they really just don't know how to cope to help you. So for me it was just the expectation of like actually having somebody to say these things to, and it being a safe place to be able to do it. So it motivated me to where, as a volunteer, I wanted to help in the facilitation of it every year. So um, it just sparks something in you when you're helping. Um, so Heather, let me see here. When you did attend and you were experiencing some of the workshops and stuff, what what were the ones you found kind of like the most, like you connected with? What connected and resonated with you the most when you were there as far as
For me, it was, the opening day activities. Like, we came in and there was a lovely spread for us out on the table, and it was just, "Grab something, eat it. We're gonna nourish your soul and your body at the same time."
Mhm.
And following that, it was the evening's activities right away where I realized that I wasn't alone anymore. Like, I knew what they'd gone through. We didn't even have to talk about specifics, although we did. But it was just lovely to know that, like, we were throwing yarn back and forth and creating a spider web between each other, with our commonalities and in our situations. And that felt good to say out loud, like, yeah, this happened to me and I can't even talk to anybody else about it. Um, and then doing the art, because I have a bachelor's degree in fine art. So doing the art
Right.
projects were just so healing for me. We made those dolls. Do you remember the braided dolls that we made?
I
Yes.
do. Yes. It was like
um,
the warrior dolls.
yes,
Yes.
that's what they were. They were warrior dolls made out of fabric that people had donated from bad memories and bad situations, but they were
Mm.
turned into something lovely by all of us. And it really felt like taking your power back. It felt good. Yeah. Those are the ones that really, and making all these wonderful new friends that I did make. So
Absolutely. And Stephanie, the same thing with you. What activities like did that resonated with you the most during the retreat?
Well, I actually echo Heather's memories about the opening activities. The food just upon welcome just was so welcoming. And it was again right into just feeling like there was a sisterhood there. And the string tossing that Heather mentioned was definitely very, very, it really struck me as, I mean, it was visually connecting. We all
Mhm.
could speak to our histories and in a safe environment. And I do remember it was interesting. I think it was just before the string activity. I think we were all just sitting on the couch and in a circle. And, there was this air of a little nervousness, a little trepidation. And, just making eye contact was a little difficult. And it was within maybe 30 seconds of the string just really focusing on each woman who took the string and mentioned something. Again, that was just really, really pivotal. And it just felt again for the whole weekend, all those intro activities were set up so well because it created an instant um an instant bond. I mean, obviously we're all there for the same thing, but that of being able to be comfortable and while the art was, wonderful, and I love art as well, I really love the collage piece that we did with seashells that we'd collected from the beach. That was really wonderful. But I think just again, the pace of the activities and the pace of the scheduling, there was there wasn't a time where I felt like I said in the beginning, sitting for the first time, I felt like we were all a little nervous, but really with the pacing of the activities, the times that we spoke together, the times we had quiet time, it was just the pacing that was very well done because I didn't ever feel rushed or forced into anything. And there was, that space being held for us.
No, absolutely. We try to like really be sure. I mean, the string activity, for those who are watching, we actually call that Me Too activity, and it's kind of like the opening activity, and um, it's where that way you find a connection. I love it because you make a statement, a truthful statement about your abuse, and everybody else who experienced the same thing raises their hand and says, "Me too." And we pass this screen in between us and we make this web and we see how we're interconnected. But also through the course of the retreat, you have an aspect in your head of this person did experience exactly what I did, and this other person experienced another aspect. So you have that not only a commonality, but as the course of the retreat usually goes on, what I've experienced as a facilitator is people are just naturally drawn to those people who had the same experiences, and then you're able to have that connection and create that sisterhood. So that activity in itself, just to be the opening, I think has brought a lot to the table because the first retreat I had, we didn't do that one. We did it the next
Mm.
one, facilitated it. So it's powerful. It's really powerful, and we do try to be very mindful of we're going to feed you, we're going to heal you, mind, body, and spirit, and we're going to give you enough time to decompress. Some stuff is more light, some stuff's a little heavier, and that everybody needs that time to kind of take a breath in between. So, yeah, that's some of the beauty of the retreat and as you experience it. Welcome to Through the Eyes of Survivors. This is a podcast where we amplify the voices of those who've been silenced. To continue supporting survivors and joining us in the fight against domestic violence, visit our website at www.breakthesilencetv.org. You can make a donation, look at some of our great programs, and together we can truly make a difference. If we can break our silence, so can you. So please donate and help share. Thank you. As far as like those who are watching out there, Stephanie, what would be your advice about if they're considering the retreat or wanting to attend?
Sure. I think so many of us have experienced not taking care of ourselves, not that phrase putting the oxygen on ourselves first. And at least for me, I think I felt so severely depleted. So I think the real advice is if this has crossed your path, if this has come into your consciousness, it really is a sign to consider it as something a part of your healing because um for me, I came upon it serendipitously or registered serendipitously. So if it's coming in your consciousness, it's a step for your healing and highly needed. I don't think there's any reason not to. Of course, there are stumbling blocks, the cost or time or space, but definitely worth part of your healing.
Oh, absolutely. And so everyone knows out there, the retreat is, the cost is just it's all inclusive. I mean, we feed you, we take care of everything for you, we pamper you, and we try to provide a very healing setting. So when we do that, so Heather, if you were speaking to somebody who was considering the retreat and going, what would you tell
Um, don't just bring a carry-on. I show
them?
I showed up with just like I packed so tightly and I had just like a little day bag and I packed 4 days worth of clothes into it and that was fine. But you're gonna leave with so many presents and so many people are gonna take care of you. don't just bring the carry-on. You're gonna love it. No, it's a fabulous event. If it pops up for you, you should absolutely take it on. It's worth everything to have gone to that retreat. Oh, yeah.
And what about the connections you've made over the years, Heather? Do you want to
Oh my
speak some on
goodness.
that?
We are still friends. We still talk regularly. We visit each other when we're in each other's cities. We make sure that we reach out to each other. Um, what has it been? 5 years now, and we still talk on the regular. So, it doesn't just create a sisterhood for the weekend. Sure, you're going to make friends with some of the women there more than others, just like in life. But yeah, the sisterhood continues afterwards, and a lot of us return to even do volunteer work because we know that that was such a healing experience. We want to help provide that for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you, like I had said in the introduction, you had come back and cooked even for the family retreat. What was that like
Yes.
for you to experience that?
Um, oh my goodness, that it was like another step in healing too. It was seeing how there are still more people out there who need us. And turning around and giving it back when it was given to me was such a special feeling. Um, and they could talk to me knowing that I'd already been through it for my retreat. And that was also really comforting, is knowing that I was not just feeding them and cooking delicious food for them, but like I was actually somebody that they could sneak down into the kitchen and
Mhm.
like have a one-on-one with me because I knew what they were going through. I wasn't just some person that was there cooking. I was a sister too. And I've remained friends with those women as well. And, yeah. So now I
Yeah,
have another whole family.
yeah, it just extends the family. So
Yep.
absolutely. How about you, Stephanie? Your class, I see them all the time still on Facebook right now. They seem to still be talking and really close. How is it
Y-
with your group now for the last year?
Yeah, again, I think the retreat was such a special occasion just for us to become sisters and fast friends instantly. And for me, I guess I feel like I've been a loner. I have only brothers. I certainly have good girlfriends, but this was a confirmation of just growing my friends, growing my family. I've remained in touch with most of the women in the retreat, and I would love to be able to volunteer. I think that's a great way to give back. But the connection is permanent. I mean, we're sisters forever. The retreat was healing for each of us in our own individual way, but I also think that each of us were there for a reason for each other. We became friends for a reason. We were at the retreat for a reason, and staying in each other's lives is really important. And again, even if we don't speak very often, the sisterhood was created, and I think it was again so valuable for me, so valuable.
Mhm. What about the experience? I always like to touch on this so that the letter burning. So the
Yes.
letter burning is, I know, the most intense part of our workshops and stuff where you actually get to write to your abuser and say all the things you wanted to say, and then you burn it afterwards. Can you, what was it like for you, Stephanie, as far as that experience part of it? Because you were newly out, so it's a little different for you.
Right, and I would say that my experience was a little bit different than anyone there, having only just been out for a year. I think everyone else had been out for quite some time. Um, for me, the actual process of the letter writing was difficult, of course, um, because for me, it brought up not just a partner a partner's abuse, but it brought up the familial generational abuse in my
Hmm.
family. And so in the actual quiet time for letter writing, I did write a lot. And each little piece that I wrote, I felt like it wasn't quite finished. It wasn't quite enough, or maybe it wasn't enough time. Lots of disjointed things. Maybe it was the time, not being out long or not addressing it up here or here. Uh, but part of my own process uh, for myself in many ways is really trying to stay in the moment, staying in the now, and what does that now help me for tomorrow? Of course, the past is my teacher. Um, but for me, when it actually came to burning my letter, I had very little to burn. I felt like some of the letter that I had written was incomplete. And I felt like I really wanted to complete that story for me, that releasing of that information. And so um, the piece that I ended up burning was very pivotal. And it was very much a statement um, of how I feel about the past. It's done, it was a teacher. I am still to this day learning from it. Things come up, but it was burning it was uh, just again the whole ceremony of it felt like, oh, I can let this go. I can let it be done. That being said, I did come back from the retreat and I did more process on the little pieces because I said
Right.
a lot had come up generationally and everything. And so for me, the letter burning was a process that I wouldn't say even I completed it or it's finished, but it was very, very visceral. It remained in my body, like as a reminder of I don't need to hold on to this stuff. I can use it, I can learn from it, and I can let it go.
Absolutely. And Heather, I'm trying to remember, did your group have the letter burning, or was that the retreat where they wouldn't let us burn there in Colorado?
No, we had the letter burning. We did.
Okay. We had one group, so y'all know it was under a fire ban and we couldn't burn. So what we ended up doing was buying a shredder and we shredded that stuff.
That's
I
fun.
love
We had people in the background chanting. We had a big waste paper can there chanting, put that man in the can. As we were
Fantastic.
shredding that year. So that was kind of a, but all the other years we burnt. So how was the letter burning for you, Heather? What kind of experience was that?
That was the thing I was looking forward to the most. I I remember the looks on people's faces when they're like, "What are you looking forward to on the first night?" And I was like, "Burning." And they were like, "Okay." But I couldn't wait. I had so much to say. I had to be, like, shushed outside because I wasn't done writing my letter yet. So I understand where you were coming from with that one, Stephanie, for sure. Um Ours was so intense. I remember just people sitting around crying, hugging each other, but, like, they were tears of release, not, like, sadness, not it was just like, "Oh gosh, that part of it is over." Like, I can release those thoughts. I can't describe it better than that. We probably spent about an hour and a half doing it as because our group was very big, and we all stood there and we read them to each other, a lot of us, so
Mhm.
that was that was really healing too.
Yeah, and that's not something that, so if you're considering, that's not mandatory. Those who
Oh,
want to
no.
read and those who don't want to read, you don't have to read. But the majority of people always elect to read. And I believe for me, it was like releasing a burden that had been carrying a long time. It was very heavy. It was such a heavy burden. And the letter writing just relieved me of the weight that I had been carrying for so long that I didn't even realize that weight was upon me till after we burnt that letter. And yes, that is just an experience all in itself. I always look forward to seeing um, the sisters after the letter burning because a lot of, not all ladies, but there are some, there's always at least one who arrives who's still so very broken and so very fragile. And by the time we do all the activities and we reach the letter burning, that person is so powerful and strong, and it ignites something in everybody else as well because we remember being that broken as well too. And it's just powerful seeing people's faces just light up with joy versus the trepidation, like Stephanie was talking about, when you first get there and you're not knowing what to experience, and you're walking away with lifelong relationships. And uh, I just, for me, it's one of the things that endeared me to this organization when we started doing that. I mean, it really made the connections that I felt that we lack out there in society, for me. So, um, so in just, kind of wrapping up in conclusion, I mean, is there anything else you would like to say to anyone out there who's considering retreats, or because wants to maybe even volunteer as part of our program? Heather, I'll start with you first.
Um, well, I would say just do it. It's just do it. Go to the retreat. Get that healing. It's there for you. Just reach out and take it. And as far as volunteering goes, it's another healing experience to volunteer for this organization as well. There are a lot of programs that are offered. Everybody has a place. We'll find you one. But yes,
Yeah,
just
we
go.
try
Just reach
to
out and grab that healing.
absolutely. We try to find a place for you with you in your own unique talents. So,
Mhm.
absolutely. Stephanie, what about you? What's the final thing you would want to say to somebody who's like considering the organization as a volunteer, or the retreat?
Well, I think the retreat, as again, we don't have a lot of ways where women specifically can bond together over this issue. So, as a healing space, it's just been so fantastic. It was so fantastic for me. Um, and so again, if it's even a thought, just I think it's wonderful to do and connect with women and um, as a step to your healing. As for volunteering as well, I think it's a bit of a part of the process also for healing to just continue to participate with a group of women and other volunteers, because there are some men in the organization who understand this healing journey, and it's a process, and just the camaraderie that exists is again continues on your healing. So
Absolutely. I would say, from my perspective, also, I'd put a call out to mom,
mm,
because I know that for me, and my child was grown with my first sister retreat, and I have grandchildren and everything. I would have been like, well, it did help make me a better mom to kind of come out of that and realize some of the healing and growth I needed to take, and then apply it to where I was interacting, even with my adult child. But I've seen also, like, the ladies who have younger children. I wish I would have had something like that when my children were younger, and to be able to apply those things to help make better relationships and choices for my children, and them make better choices as well. Um, I think, don't worry. Find somebody who will take care of the kids that you trust, and come. It will benefit them as well as you. So that's one of the things I would definitely say from my experience. But anyway, I thank you all so much for being here and talking about this with us. If you would like to join the spring retreat, it's in April. We'll have more information down in the description of the video here below. You can also go to our website, www.breakthesilencedv.org, and look up for information on the retreat, uh, register, and join us. So we'll be glad to have you come be a part of the sisterhood. So thank you so much.